consciousness, it wasn't real quick.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around.
The aliens were like, coming. Our DNA was split, dude, from the fucking Anunnaki, man.
By the process of elimination, you might determine that we are probably being visited.
Well, you know, maybe some of them did really have some kind of experience or saw something. And
The aliens are like telepathic. I don't even believe this.
From saying extraterrestrials are related to UFOs.
You could potentially come to the same conclusion. It is the veil that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you.
What's up, everyone? Thank you for stopping by. Tonight we have a pretty interesting topic, weather manipulations, cloud seeding. I'm going to be as respectful, or we all are going to be as respectful as possible with this, you know, given the disaster that people in the states of North Carolina and Florida have had to deal with the hurricane. You know, tonight's going to be cloud seeding and weather manipulation. And to kind of kick it off, I want to just show some images and videos provided from Big Rob. And before I kind of get into presenting Star Wars Dog, thank you so much for the hard work that you put in this week, kind of getting this stream organized and the topics and whatnot. Steezo, always appreciated for you showing up. Same for you, King Chris, and Rob. Thank you for providing this stuff and coming on to the show tonight and giving your take on everything. So I'm gonna pull up quickly. I'm gonna try to pull it up as quick as possible. We've got this video that Rob, you recently went to North Carolina. So once I play it, maybe you could give a little bit of feedback on where it came from. If you recorded this, just general thoughts on it. But I'm gonna play it right now.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any sound, but this is in Asheville, North Carolina, near Swananoa.
Swananoa. Yep, that's it.
I always mess that up. So I think it's Highway 70. Kind of what you're looking at used to be like a river. You can see the bridge that's all being worked on right there, but that little river used to be much smaller, and it just shows the devastation of that. The flooding came in and just kind of tore apart a lot of the earth. You can see if you pause it right there.
Yeah, that part. That part.
That's wild.
That part.
Yeah. So a lot of the
where it's washed out. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those storefronts that were on this side of the little river.
Yep.
This happened to. So I mean, you can see the flood damage in front because the flood actually went all the way up into that area. But you also see the damage it did to the backside and underneath.
Yeah, it's completely blown out at the back. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do. Okay.
You can see the telephone poles just mangled right there.
I want to kind of set the stage here. Like, you know, we're seeing in this video just one gas station, but from my understanding, this was the whole highway, right? Or the whole road.
Yeah. So I don't know what the elevation is of this place, but I mean, there's high points and low points pretty much all throughout the mountains, and the water actually came up above that river and above the street level and brought in a bunch of mud. And you can see kind of like where that gas station door is, like the mud and the water came up higher than that and into that building. So if you were rewinded, or I don't even know if you can catch it, there's a bunch of stores to the right of this location as you're driving back, and you can tell the mud, and the water is the water level just kind of came all the way up and just destroyed everything in its path. And this is just one side of the street, and this is one little area. Like if you go further in towards Asheville or towards Black Mountain.
And as we get into the stream and topic, we'll kind of cover this, but like, yeah, I mean, this whole area was devastated. You know, I mean,
You can see right
God
there's no
damn.
damage.
Wow.
Look
Yep.
at that.
Jeez.
But what I was going to say is, like, supposedly FEMA and the government has been sending help, supposedly, right? And a big topic, or I wanted to kind of touch on tonight, was the fact that people like yourself and a bunch of other good human beings are reporting that no, like they're not actually there helping, and it's actually civilians pulling together.
I've got a lot of good stuff that I found on that, but Rob being there firsthand, I mean he has what he can account for.
Yeah, I mean, so just kind of my whole role in this is our intent was to bring up some medical supplies and some cold weather supplies up to the main hub over at the Harley Davidson building, and that's kind of where you've probably seen a lot of the videos, some of the pictures I sent you. That's kind of where the main effort in that particular area, because there's tons of these little areas all over the state. But this is where what they call themselves, the Redneck Air Force, where all the helicopters are coming in and landing and taking supplies out, and there's just a massive coordinated effort within the civilians. A lot of military, retired Green Beret, retired Air Force, retired Rangers, you name it. There's a military presence there, as in retired military, and then just the amount of civilians that came from all over. Met people from New York, California, and Oregon, and so people from all over just coming to pitch in to help out. I did see some National Guard units in their aircraft.
Yeah, you had them right there, what you just pulled up there.
And
You
then
want
there
to pull that back up, or
also I think they were 82nd. There's a picture I posted that had the 82nd and the little doom buggies.
I've heard also from people there that 82nd was there.
Yeah, but one thing I did not see, and I mean I wasn't there, from the beginning or anything like these other guys were, but you can kind of get that from talking to people that FEMA themselves didn't really have a role in this particular area, and I don't know if there was coordination behind the scenes, but I mean you can tell, and you talk to anybody that they'll be polite about it, but I mean FEMA didn't really have a hand in this coordinated effort here at the Harley Davidson thing.
And I mean that's interesting because the storm happened 24th through the 26th with all the flooding and first impact. And you went up there, when was that?
On Friday, we got there Friday morning.
Friday,
this last Friday. Yeah, it's almost a week ago.
Right.
Yeah, on the 11th.
So I mean, you had that long. You were at one of the main central hubs where people tell you to go to take stuff, and no FEMA in sight. I don't know personally if that is a good thing. Like they could go ahead and stay away, and focus on getting people money and relief and organizing. But also it's very peculiar that that you didn't see a presence there.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Swannanoa, Asheville area, and Black Mountain, and then kind of north of all of that, we were driving around. So I mean, I wasn't around the entire state. The area known as Bat Cave, couldn't get to, and over towards the Avery County Airport, also didn't get to. But in the areas that I went to, definitely did not see any government official trucks. There was a lot of relief organizations. There's a lot of nonprofits, a lot of churches, and like I said, just all civilians, all civilian run. All of the donation pickup points and drop off points were all civilians. All of the missions, all of the pilots were all civilians. Everybody coordinating all of the medical stuff was all civilians. So it was, you're thinking one thing, that FEMA is supposed to come in and and save the day or whatever. But I didn't see a single FEMA rep there at all.
And really the important part of that, what I wanted to kind of touch on is that, and we will provide further on in the stream about this, is that they debunk everything about how the government isn't providing, the federal government isn't providing aid. You know, they try to debunk it, that like that this is misinformation, all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, when you have people and you know people that are actually there, you don't see the government institutions that are supposedly that we pay taxes on to go do that. And I don't want to overly make this political, but like, you know, it's important to bring up that
It's gonna
like
go that direction. To be fair,
Right.
it is. I just and that's the whole. I'm trying to be as respectful as possible to the people that are suffering from this. You know, I don't want this to be a complete
Dunk fest
conspiracy.
on the political party.
Yeah. Like there's something to be said about that. And Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. You're going back, right? Pretty soon.
Yeah, that's our intent. Right now, we're trying to get some more funds put together through the nonprofit. There's a need for oxygen tanks, some more medical supplies. Definitely a need for cold weather stuff. So they need like heaters and more blankets and more coats. And I think it's already started snowing in some areas up there. So once we get enough money to purchase these things, then we'll make another run back up there. This time to Avery County Airport.
Right.
Cool. So, you know, love what you're doing, Rob. It's commendable, or commendable. You know, really good work. Jim, you know, I'm gonna pass it off to you now. You've done a lot of work on this topic, so why don't you kick us off and start kind of diving through everything.
Okay. So, like we were said, want to be extremely, cautious with how this stream comes off. Of course, we're going to start with acknowledging the disaster and what happened there, and also, acknowledge the effort like Big Rob here put in, and other volunteers and community members coming together, and then also touch on the FEMA stuff a little more in depth, find some things, find some contradictory things. But we'll start off with just this this man here. What was his name? I'm sorry, Nick Sherry. He put together a pretty good little video, and we're gonna jump around to it, but here, this is just kind of showing a lot of damage and a good synopsis of what's happening.
The week of September 27th, many states on the East Coast were hit by Hurricane Helene. And to this day, Hurricane Helene is the most deadly and most damaging hurricane since Hurricane Katrina. The total numbers of death is still unknown and is believed to be in the thousands as search and rescue is still ongoing. This hurricane has been a major disaster and a storm like never before in the United States, as this hurricane reached areas over 300 miles from the coast, and the area being affected the most is western North Carolina in the areas of Asheville. After seeing the horrific videos of entire towns and homes being wiped away from the hurricane, and with conspiracies and information spreading on the internet about FEMA and the lack of funds from the government to help these communities, I headed down to Asheville to see what was actually happening for myself. In this video, I will meet and speak with the locals who are helping to save the communities, confronting FEMA, and going inside homes and neighborhoods that were destroyed from the hurricane. We'll start this video on the streets up in the mountains and meet a local by the name of Thad who explains exactly how this all happened. And many of the
So I'm going to jump ahead here, but that Harley Davidson is the one that Rob was talking about, the one that he, the gathering point, the collection point.
Yeah. You'll see the big guy too that he was talking to is the guy that was kind of running the show. He's a retired Green Beret dude. But the Harley Davidson is kind of where a lot of media attention has been focused. I think Corey Mills was down there. Mercury One and Glenn Beck and his crew was down there.
Right.
So yeah, that's the one place that's getting all the attention.
And from what you were saying too, is that it's it's a lot of organized chaos, probably more chaos than organized, right? That's what I got from what you were talking about.
I mean, if you're if you're familiar with military and organized chaos, you're kind of used to. It kind of seems out of control, just because there's a lot going on. There's a ton of information, a ton of people, and a ton of equipment moving. But the guys there, like that dude, definitely had a system in place that was, obviously saving lives and moving a lot of life-saving stuff to a lot of people. So I mean, it seems chaos when you're kind of like in the middle of it and you don't really know what's going on. But I mean, you put someone like a retired Green Beret guy or retired military guy, kind of put them in that position, they usually step up and make it work. And they did a pretty good job.
For sure.
Good.
Here's some damage. He met up with a local resident there, and they're gonna review some of the damage here.
I don't even know how to describe this. How would you describe this, Dad?
Destruction.
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 Absolute destruction here. How does somebody come back from this, especially if they are on Social Security? They probably don't have millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. How does somebody bounce back from this?
Very hard. Very hard. I say very hard. It's not one of these things that you're going to pop back next week.
This is all mud right here in the floor.
Damn.
Was this your first time seeing this too?
Inside. The first time I've been inside, I just didn't know what. Just didn't want to go in. She had it so clean and so beautiful all the time, stuff like this, and the stuff, the stuff, and look in there. That was the bathroom.
Oh my gosh!
Unless you're here, you can't realize what it's actually like. I mean, a lot of people thinking, well, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. I'll look at it and see what you find. I see why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. I've got another spot right here.
Smoke's real pretty.
The reason this hurricane is so significant is because it hit areas that have never been hit before. For instance, up in the mountains in a town called
Chimney
Rock, it was completely wiped away from the hurricane. And because these homes were never hit with a hurricane or with floods before, because this is not a flood area, none of these homes are paying for flood insurance. So therefore, when this flood came through and wiped away all their home, their insurance companies are not going to be covering any of the losses on these homes because they weren't paying for flood insurance. They may have been paying for homeowner insurance. However, they were not paying for flood insurance, which is the reason why they lost their home due to the floods. The big controversy with this hurricane is the support from FEMA and the federal government, especially after Alejandro Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Secretary, came out and said that FEMA does not have any more funds to help the victims, as they have allocated a lot of funds to support illegal immigrants as they have came into the country this past year. And a lot of people are upset because the government has recently sent over $200 billion to other countries like Ukraine, Israel, and Lebanon.
We give $20 billion.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good overall of what's going on there and the common feelings surrounding it as well.
Yeah, I mean, they covered an area too that I couldn't even get to in Chimney Rock. It's completely closed unless you're a local, or if you're escorted in with a local. Just because it's such a small town, it's like it's kind of a tourist area from what I understand, but it was completely devastated. And then from what I've been told, up there's more of a presence with FEMA and National Guard and stuff. But I mean, I got no way to confirm that. Yeah, that place. It took me a couple of days when I got back to process it. Just the devastation. And yeah, for a couple
you did too. Yeah, you were kind of
I was
processing.
It was overwhelming. And all the stuff with FEMA and all that. I mean, I don't know anything about that other than what people are saying. So like,
right. Well, I actually do have right here one of the FEMA people in the area. This guy actually did interview, and but Well, just take a listen.
I'm just trying to get to the truth of the misconceptions that are on the internet and talk to
We're
some
here
people.
to help. We have brought out so many employees from all over the country, including Puerto Rico. So every day we have more help coming in so that we can do more and more registrations so these survivors can get the help that they need.
What kind of information are you getting from the DHS? Is what do they want you guys doing for the people? Just registering them, or what are in the?
Yeah, registering.
And what's the registration process like? What kind of questions are the people getting asked?
Just Social Security, address.
One lady got denied. She said she came back today. So as far as the home coverage of the homes.
Oh yeah, if they get denied, it just means that FEMA needs more information. So if somebody has insurance, we don't duplicate the coverage. So if they're denied by insurance or anything that their insurance covers, we try to help.
It was interesting to talk to some of the people.
So
What's your thoughts on that, guys?
I want to kind of kick this off with how many citizens are not able to even get to the FEMA tents. I'll call it tents. How many people are stranded and can't even register to what she's talking about? That's kind of one of the first things I want to talk about.
Because it's not like you could do it online.
Right, exactly.
So it's just from what I know of what people have said on the ground and kind of what I'm getting from my contacts on X is FEMA is kind of on the outskirts. And I just posted a picture. What was that? I just posted a picture of one of the FEMA camps that they just established up there.
Right.
And I think it houses 700 FEMA or government contractors. But yeah, they're not they don't have these vehicles all over the place. They're in specific places, and the big problem is people have to get to them, and not everybody can.
I'm almost certain they have to be at government places, and maybe that's why you didn't see them at Harley, is because
Well, I mean, there's
Rob,
video of them in random parking lots, so it's not facilities.
Right.
Rob, is this what you were?
Yeah. So this is there's a journalist, a reporter that just did a story on that, and that's the Steel News link that I gave you. But they went in and they talked to whoever's kind of a supervisor of that location. But basically, what they're doing, from what I gather from that video, as long as everybody's being honest and truthful in that video, is the FEMA was setting up a kind of a base of operation for contractors and rescuers and whatever. It's 20 minutes long. You have to watch the whole thing, but it does kind of piss you off when you think about how much money they spent on private security. There was the government contract I saw on bids or on SAM that went out. I think it was 5 to 10 million for private security for these locations.
Right.
So the thing that pissed me off is they're spending money somewhere. And then when I see stuff like this, I'm well, this is where the initial money is coming. And eventually I know this is probably going to morph into something where they can do some good. But just my initial knee-jerk reaction is the people need the money first. And not your comforts and they even have mental health providers at these locations not for the victims, but for the workers.
So the biggest conspiracy I want to take from this is that FEMA, it's something that's provided by taxpayers, correct? So the biggest thing I want to kind of take from this is why is it that most of the help is coming from civilians when we're supposed to have institutions set up to help these people during events like this, a natural disaster?
I think that's probably where a lot of the anger comes from.
Yeah. And I have some more that'll shed some light on that here in a little bit, but pretty much what it boils down to is bureaucracy and government agency incompetence. I mean, it doesn't seem like they were prepared for North Carolina. They're out of money. We'll get to that as well, but there's a lot of issues that a lot of us have, and you brought up volunteers and stuff, and here's a little something on that.
50 or 100 spots. That's the local network of volunteers and people that are local coming in to help this community. Like, just look at this. There's a big long line of cars and all this free stuff, free hot food, free water, free supplies, free medical supplies, everything you want. Right over here is a whole team of people just out grilling hamburgers and giving them away. Free gasoline, free propane, everything you need. And zero of this came from FEMA. This came from the hearts of real great Americans. And we don't give a crap who gets the credit. The facts are, from the man right here on the ground that's been running donations back and forth, we've given away all kinds of stuff here from everybody that supported us, dropped it off in Johnson City, Tennessee. We've given away propane, cash, gas, portable showers, everything to all these people. Let me tell you something, that the people is what's supporting Asheville, North Carolina. It's unbelievable.
Man, it gives me shivers.
I want to say
Right, it makes you feel good seeing that shit.
Leave a comment. Tell us what you think. God bless you all.
No, it gives me shivers, and it actually drives where a lot of my anger is. Rob, you've provided some stuff showing, firsthand. We've got countless numbers of videos showing that. And I'm not going to make this about politics and money, but that's where the anger drives from. When news organizations come out with articles talking about how this is misinformation, FEMA's there on the ground, but what are they doing? Because from what I've seen, it's locals and not even locals, like people coming in, providing for the needy or the needing, and
those in need,
like it's not the help really is not coming from government institutions that we're paying for. It's coming
not the
from
help that's
people.
needed. I mean, you got people out there removing brush, looking for bodies, and
And again, I don't want to sound disrespectful with the whole paying, but like
I think what we need to do is praise those that are volunteering, those that are making an effort and actually doing things. And we'll go ahead and lash out at FEMA here as well, in the same breath. But I think my purpose of putting that video in here was to greatly, show that a lot of good people are coming together, like Rob going down there and all the other former military, special forces, and just everyday civilians coming from all over the fucking place to come and help. That's the real America that I know, and that makes me very proud, and it reminds me of what I fought for.
Chris,
yeah, man. If you're that feeling when you're there, surrounded by all those volunteers, man, it brought back a sense, like, even with all the devastation around, it brings back a sense of pride in the citizens and stuff. Yeah, I mean, that the guy was right. I mean, people just bringing cookies because she has, she had nothing else that she can contribute except she can cook. So she was just baking cookies like nonstop for all the volunteers. There was someone brought like a giant smoker, and they were just cranking out food, just nonstop cranking out food. And it was just some random guy just getting a hold of food somehow.
Rob, it gives me shivers, like it really does. Like,
incredible.
It's a beautiful thing to see people come together like that when in a time of need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So real quick, let's hear this lady and what she's got to say.
I love that. Yeah. Confiscating everything. That we have had the best.
Also, apologies if any of the audio is quiet. I tried to get the loudest I possibly could for any video, so we'll do our best to be quiet. But just you might have to crank it up a little bit during the videos.
Extra body bags.
Oh my gosh.
And
I
or
love that.
confiscating everything. That we have had to beg for body bags.
Oh my gosh.
And funeral homes, Bennett's funeral home got us some too, locally, Bennett's and Conover. But there's been some other people, we had phone calls and said, oh, they couldn't approve it from the state. The state had 2,000, but they couldn't approve it because they didn't have no word that there was that many bodies to cover, because we'd asked for 500. And so there's no way to even do anything with body bags, with the bodies.
Gosh.
And they haven't even been able to get to all the places to recover the bodies.
Oh.
And they're griping about that. And so you got people that can't even leak it in. And Statesville has, it's great. Hickory's been working, but they have to wait for the FDA to approve all the insulin or whatever. And, you know, the sheriff here, he's down here somewhere. I want to introduce you to him. He is a stand-up man. Awesome. He told them to get lost. They tried to shut up.
He told them to get lost. Yeah. So a lot of that, you know, of course, requesting medical supplies and a big part of that was body bags. And I also have another on that. And I think even today the numbers is like 225 confirmed deaths. Now that's confirmed.
Yeah,
right?
it's just the ones they found.
Right. But like this gal's about to say, and she's been helping with organizations locally in the North Carolina area. Listen to what she says.
Of 200 or 200-ish is what's being reported right now. That's not accurate. My organization has 10,000 ballots for local authorities this week, and they're requesting more. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that all 10,000 of those has been used, but it does mean that they're finding a need, and that they're thinking that they're going to need more. I will tell you, you know, we've spoken to some of the funeral homes and refrigeration truck companies that have been brought in, and there's, you know, 1,000 in this town, 800 in this town, 500 in this town, and we're finding more bodies every day. This is an ongoing process. My team has cadaver dogs that have been going out. We have med teams that are going out. It's not only deaths from the storm, but deaths since the storm.
Yeah. Did you hear what she said? I know it was quiet again.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah.
10,000 body bags and requesting more.
Well,
that's a wild number.
Basically, what I gathered from her is that she, you know, they're not all going to be used, but like if you're requesting 10,000, you know, that means they're gonna
they have 10,000. They're requesting more.
Yeah, so they're estimating about what, probably 12,000. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but even still, you know,
well, you got to remember what she said. So, like when they bring in units, and it's not just body bags, but like any sort, could be water, whatever. They're trying to get them staged to an area, so they don't want to. If there's an area that's heavier hit, they don't want to be moving stuff back and forth. So they just want to get like as many of whatever they can in that zone. They may not even use like, and let's hope they don't, pray they don't use like a quarter of that, you know. Right. But they at least have it in the area, so they're not calling for it while they're waiting. You know what I mean? The same thing happened during COVID, where you know, civil authorities in certain areas were requesting refrigeration trucks. I mean, all these things because they were anticipating a bunch of deaths, and the deaths never even reached that scale, but they were just trying to prepare. So
there's a lot of reports that the smell is just
exactly. So
because they're all buried too, like they're in piles of rubble and.
Mm-hmm.
So I have another one if you want to keep rolling.
I was going to say something about Biden and Harris.
Yes, what were you going to say? Oh.
But I don't like to curse. I'm scared there'll be little ears.
Well, and you've been up here. You've been up here for how long?
Just 2 days.
2 days?
Sheriff hadn't left, and he's doing a fantastic job. So.
That's right. I mean, Sheriff,
sorry, can you pause that?
Thank you so much for all.
Look at the devastation in the background.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy, man.
Yeah, like right there. Look at that. Like,
yep.
Holy shit.
To definitely get this up on social media, and we're going live tonight with Sean Hannity. But if you had a message
for the White House and how they've handled the situation up here in North Carolina. What would your message be, Sheriff Wright?
If you're going to do the things you've been talking about doing, we just send you stay out of the way and let the good men and women around the mountains, carry the foothills, take care of our own, because you're nothing more than a boat anchor.
God damn.
No help. FEMA hasn't been helpful.
Wait a minute.
It's a good old
that
boy.
lady that's running for president talks about the $750. Huh. What about all that money you give to Ukraine and all these other people that really want to kill us?
Yeah,
Don't want to do
exactly.
anything to help us. Why don't you just give that money to them? That's who you want to give it to
Well,
begin with.
And a lot of people have been turned down for the $750. Almost everybody I've spoken to hasn't received any of the funding, and they've been turned down for personal items.
Well, they talked about get on your phone or your computer. Do you not see what the devastation is? They don't have a phone or a computer.
There's nothing up here. There's no communication. I'm going to be posting this later. There's no way to access the internet unless you have a Starlink net.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
we touched on that, but
also I do want to say
Catch words.
that guy definitely swallows his dip.
He's eating some kind of peanuts or something.
Yeah, and has a lip in for sure. No, but
Yeah.
you know, like all jokes aside, like that is kind of the point I'm trying to drive home here, like tonight, is that like it comes down to the community and the people outside the community that are willing to go out and give the support that is needed, like people like Rob. You know, it's important to look at this stuff.
Yes. So I've got something else here. And I'm debating this order. Yeah, we'll just start with. Nope, I changed my mind. Doing an audible here. We are going to this one first. So right there. Bang, bang.
FEMA regional, it's just categorically false. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants. It's just categorically false. No, Biden did not take.
Yeah, so she's on the loop there. But yeah, I know you said you didn't want to be political, but the office of contradictory, as always.
Yeah, you start digging
Yeah.
into it and you start seeing why people are so upset. You know what I mean?
Right. And here's somebody else to speak on the matter. Stizo, what was this man's position or name?
This is Mayorkas. He's the Department of Homeland Security Secretary.
That's correct. All right. Well, let's hear what he has.
The one that got impeached by Congress or
That's
by House of Representatives.
Right. All right. Let's see what he has to say.
Prepared. This is what we do. This is what they do. And the key here, Rebecca, is also to make sure that the communities who are potentially impacted are prepared as well. And it's not just hurricanes and wildfires, also extreme heat, which certainly some parts of the United States are already experiencing.
Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is sounding the alarm on FEMA funding right after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Listen.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants. Attorney General of the great state of Florida, Ashley Moody, joins me now.
Yeah. Thoughts on that? I mean, it's all stuff we kind of already knew, but It's just it's interesting hearing it from the horse's mouth, don't you think?
And if you guys know anything about government spending, you know it's littered with waste, fraud, and abuse. So none of that shocks me. I mean, just from what I found out today about those FEMA camps, and just my history with the military and government spending, like, it doesn't surprise me.
And not just to pick on like I know we were trying to make it political, but I mean, you guys know, like, this is just the latest really time that FEMA's popped up and has done a miserable job or horrible job on disaster relief or whatever. If you remember, not too long back when Donald Trump was president, he got flack about the government's response, which FEMA was in charge for their response to the hurricane that hit Puerto Rico. And I'm not sure what year that was. I think it was 2017 or 2018. That's more recent. And then, of course, there was the Hurricane Katrina debacle under President George Bush. And in fact, that didn't take long, or not too long after, while that was still going on, President Bush actually fired his FEMA director because of such a poor job and response to that disaster. So one of the reasons when they brought was to bring FEMA under the Department of Homeland Security was to help streamline things and make things better. But it doesn't look like it's helped. It doesn't seem like it's a. That's why I said this isn't really. I don't think this is a Democrat or Republican run thing. I think it's just, big government in general. It's just a fiasco, and I think it's just a organization.
So that would be great that it wasn't a Democrat and Republican, but you got CNN putting this out. Too much misinformation and not enough.
Oh yeah.
What a fucking headline, huh?
What?
Yeah.
Just.
Well, they're just trying to cover their candidate's butt. That's what they're trying to do.
Right. Right.
We know that. We know CNN.
Yeah, it's just a shame, man. It's just what we come to expect from government,
Yep.
And also, I wanna bring this up because I found this, and and I'll preface it that it's likely set before the hurricane even hit. So this is something that happened prior to that. I really believe that, but still, nonetheless, this kind of shows where their heads were at.
Sparked a few things in my mind, thinking about preparedness and how you said, LGBTQIA people and people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that. It's just compounding on itself. And I think that is maybe the why of why we're having these discussions, because it isn't being talked about. It isn't being socialized. We're not paying attention to this community. Thank you so much. Maggie.
Okay, so what's irritating about that? FEMA has nothing to do with gender equality. Fucking,
DEI.
Yeah, DEI. Get the fuck out of here.
That shit's pretty infuriating to listen to, for real.
Yeah, that's
it really is. That's what I'm actually kind of angry.
That kind of pissed me off too. It's like, I need special treatment because I'm in this special group. No, you don't.
It's the already disadvantaged. The already disadvantaged line is what gets you.
Yeah.
Again,
doesn't matter.
I believe that was before the disaster hit or anything like that. But
I know, but the fact that that person is sitting there running his mouth, and you've got the FEMA tag behind him, like
right,
dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just it's infuriating based off of the fact where we're at right now, where we're sending money to Ukraine. We're basically engaging in a war with Iran through Israel, all this other stuff, and a person from FEMA is sitting there talking about being,
Well, dude, you gotta. At one point over the last few years, the DEI shit was running wild through government. Like they weren't even trying to hide it.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was going crazy. Well, I understand, and I think I placed that perfectly, that you're upset. I've got some upset North Carolina citizens, and maybe one of the only times that I will agree with a self-proclaimed socialist.
The city of Asheville has known since 2004 that the dam at the North Fork Reservoir was decrepit and inadequate and a lethal danger under flood conditions. They had 20 years to fix it. When the moment of the test arrived, they told us that they had no choice but to open the floodgates and let the water sweep away lives and homes and futures in the Shenandoah River Valley. We're hungry and thirsty and filthy and in the dark amongst the wreckage of our homes and our lives. And the best the government can do is send badge-toting gun thugs from as far away as Louisiana and Texas to keep hungry people away from food and thirsty people away from water, because we are not their priority. Their priority is the protection of wealth.
To clarify, I don't agree with this part.
Profits. If we were a bank, they would have saved us. If we were some country that they wanted to occupy, they would have already done something. We demand full federal relief, real federal relief. We demand unemployment. We demand medical coverage. We demand our houses be fixed. It's our own money. We should be ticked off. We should demand from the federal government, what have you done with my money? We should be angry. And if
He's
you're
100%
angry like
correct.
me, you need to get together with other angry people and organize so that we can move to a real system, not a system that profits off of our suffering like capitalism.
Yeah, lost me at the very end there, but but
Yeah.
a lot of that sentiment, like the dam, I couldn't find a lot of information on the dam, but that's interesting that that they had to open the floodgates. I mean, I don't really know, but I think pretty much any dam with that amount of rainwater would have to open them. I mean, it would be a flash flood otherwise. At least it would rise slower. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's some wild shit.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm always apprehensive when I see some of these because I've seen some coming out of there on TikTok that they're using it as a clickbait or whatever clout, and they're not even really involved in it. So it sucks.
They'll show up as actors on scene to a site and then use political grandstanding. That's pretty common. It happens a lot now on both social media.
It doesn't make it any better though. It's pretty fucked up.
Nope.
Yeah, so I guess to kind of round this out, and then we can discuss our overall feelings about the disaster and the reality of it, and all the other aspects. Let's refer to POTUS here and see what he has to say.
What's the risk of political figures sharing misinformation during this time?
Past this prologue is real, but the fact of the matter is, I think we have. I've been able to contact all the governors. They are sticking up for what they've asked for. They're pointing out that they're satisfied with everything they're getting. But I can't speak for others on the internet. And I mean, just look. Those who do it to try to damage the administration. Well, we can take care of ourselves. But it misleads people. It puts people in circumstances where they panic, where they really, really, really worry. They think we're not being taken care of. And it really is, it's going to sound, I use an old phrase, it's un-American. It really is. People are scared to death. people know
Go
the lives
yourself.
at stake, all that they've worked for, all that they own, all that they.
But go yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's, it's super important that we just always remember
what can be, unburdened by what has been.
Every time he talks,
You English?
Almost.
You English? Oh God.
I mean, for real, this it's infuriating. I don't honestly, I don't give a fuck about what he has to say about any of this shit that's happening right now. He's clearly not.
Commander-in-Chief, name only.
Yeah, he's not. There's zero influence he has on this situation. Let's be completely honest. That's why they like this. That's why they like him, because they know they can just tell him, "Hey, go eat chocolate ice cream over there, and we'll figure out what we need to do."
Go back to the beach. Go back to the beach.
Exactly.
Either way, not our point to get off on the president here, but I guess let's round out our thoughts about the disaster. Of course, our hearts go out to those affected. I'm hoping to hopefully be able to get up there with my crane and some heavy equipment and actually get some shit done as well. But just overall, kind of what we witnessed in the last 50 minutes or so. Let's hear it, boys.
Yeah, I mean, for me specifically, I feel like there's no reason to kind of start throwing the hero badge to the government. I think it all relies on the people on the grounds and the people in the community and outside of the direct community that are actually putting in resources to help these people. That's really where I stand on this. FEMA and is non-existent from what I understand. So I'm going to sit here and say that I'm rooting for the people. It's not about teams, but I'm rooting for the people that are actually going out and helping the ones in need. I'm not in a position where I can help, but I'll guarantee it. Like FEMA's not putting in any type of development in that sense.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. It's a shame that for whatever reason FEMA seems like they're not there to help, but it's a beautiful thing to see people step up and
it is,
come from across the country or however far away to help and pitch in, and it kind of restores your faith in humanity.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I also want to reiterate, thank Rob again for the work you've been doing and you continue to do out there.
Oh yeah,
people like you that are doing what it is. I mean, Americans are actually known to be the most giving people on the planet. Anytime there's worldwide disasters, it's the American people, not necessarily the government. That government has to take their time. It's all strategic, but people are quick to open their wallets and donate money and send aid around the world. And it's nice to see that in action now. Like I said before too, this isn't the first time FEMA has been a no-show or a joke at a disaster relief site. It won't be the last. I mean, look at the complaints I got about the Maui fires not too long ago and other hurricanes in the past. And I've heard, with all the wildfires we get out west and stuff like that, I've heard stories from people. My brother was one who lost his house in a big wildfire. And luckily he had insurance and his insurance took care of him. But the FEMA situation was a total joke. And so, this is a prime example, is the people, Americans, we got to have each other's back and we can't rely on the government. Just have each other's back, do stuff, whatever you can. If you can't be there like Rob in person and help out, open your wallets up, give whatever you can, even if like $5 and help.
Do what you can.
pick
Times are tough.
and
Economy
pick
shit.
legitimate sites. Watch out for scams. There's a lot of scams out there. People asking for money and stuff. I didn't think about this stream, but it would have probably been good to maybe put down like the Red Cross's phone number or something like that on the bottom.
Well, we've got an organization that
Yeah, but something like that, that we could promote just for the people watching and stuff to, be willing to help out. That's all I got on that, really.
Well, again, we have an organization that that I know the money's going to go to. Rob, you're using your nonprofit for this, right? Ready Room?
Yeah. Ready Room Foundation is where we collected a bunch of money, and we were able to buy a lot of the supplies, and we went and bought, I don't know, probably 50 jackets and 50 blankets that we dropped off at a little church that they needed right before it started getting cold. It got cold while we were up there. Now it's freezing.
Now it's for sure cold.
Well, please, I have the link pulled up right here on screen. Please, if you guys have anything, donate to it. It's gonna go to a good cause.
Do what you can. Take care of your family first, but if you
Yeah.
got it, and you want to help,
And Rob, anything you want to kind of touch on before we move on to the next topic?
No, I mean, you guys have already kind of thrown the stuff out there. Just a big shout out and much respect to all the military guys and civilians that are helping out. If it wasn't for them, that I don't know. I can't imagine what those people of North Carolina be going through right now. But
yeah,
that's it.
I 100% agree. In my mind, and I talked to you about this the other night, Rob. My background as a heavy equipment operator in the Marine Corps, and understanding how the Marine Corps works, and in my mind, I see this disaster, and I see we have a extremely resourceful and competent military that is equipped for just this. Just the units I was at, we had dozens of very high power generators, heavy equipment up the ass, trucks, trailers, all sorts of kind of stuff like that. The Marines themselves are supposed to be able to occupy and set up a base within 48 hours, right? There's no reason why we cannot be utilizing our tax dollar military in helping with disaster relief. Now, we talked about the 82nd Airborne being there, and I'm not sure what their mission was there, and I'm glad that they were sent. But when something this major, this devastating happens, I mean, these people need to get their lives back together as quickly as possible. And we have all these resources and all this equipment and all this shit that, unless it's deployed to a war zone, and last I checked, according to Kamala, we're not. Why the hell can't, in not to mention, especially in the Marines, right there in North Carolina, we have a major military installation for the Marine Corps right there in North Carolina, Camp Lejeune. You could send all of the logistics companies and stuff and go do work, go do rotations, go knock shit out. We have so much stuff that would be so helpful. We got bridges out. Well, I know that we have tanks that have bridges on top of them that fold out. That could be a makeshift bridge for the time being.
And again, like I know, like the channel being called Aliens Conspiracy. This is why I wanted to preface the stream with like being respectful. Like, we're not here to pull people along on strings that are just irrational. Like, we're here to have a good conversation and rational things. I just wanted to kind of put that out there that, like, there's more to it, right? I hope I hope you're following, guys, on what I'm trying to say here. You know, yeah, it's aliens conspiracy, but at the end of the day, like I'm more concerned, even with this topic, about people being safe, and I hope everyone's all right. You know,
For sure. Well, I guess if you're ready, Chris, do you got anything you want to add?
No, man, I'm pretty much good to go.
Okay. Well, if y'all are ready, we're gonna go ahead and buckle in. We're gonna ease into this one. It's gonna be a good transition. We're gonna kind of lay out these theories and conspiracies that are surrounding this Hurricane Helene, and whether or not some funny business is happening.
On that note, I'm out, boys.
All right, buddy.
Thanks a lot,
Rob,
See you, man.
See ya.
good having you, man.
See ya.
Yes. I guess we'll just delay a little bit and for Daimio to get back. But yeah, again, we're gonna transition into this, and I'll ease y'all into a lot of these documents and videos that are articulating good points on this. And there's quite a bit of aspect of this where many of you may consider or may have thought that this is just nonsense. This is complete wacko business. But we have word from horse's mouth. We have a bunch of video evidence from credible sources that you may agree with or you may not. And then we might get a little bit more wacky towards the end. But for the most part, Daimio must have fallen in.
Yeah.
I went for a refill.
Y'all waiting too much.
Oh, this guy again?
Let's start this off with this guy once again because he kicks us off well. Here we go.
Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman of Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's got to stop. In moments like this, there are no red or blue states. There's one United States of America where neighbors are helping neighbors. Volunteers and first responders are risking everything, including their own lives, to help their fellow Americans. State, local, and federal officials are standing side by side. Let me repeat, no one should make the American people question whether their governments will be making sure that this is acting on strikes. They'll be there. We will.
Sorry, what was that last
now
part?
The claims are getting
Hang on a second. I want to make sure I heard that right.
That this is acting on strikes. They'll be there. We will. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. I was going to put him. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Yeah. So again, the first thing he said there, addressing controlling the weather. Well, here's a little something that kind of helps our cause here. Here we go. Let me get this pulled up and nope, not that one. There you go.
You know, they were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. They did not get into this discussion,
No.
though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers really to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far, it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. it condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
So let me I want to do something here. Let me see what did he say at first?
Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather.
Not so fucking crazy now, is it?
You can't believe anything that man says.
What can be, unburdened by what has been.
I don't think he knows that we can do that though. I don't think.
Hey, Brian.
That's fair. That's fair.
You're fake news.
Oh, shit.
It's not
Yeah,
his fault. He just doesn't know. He was told. He still doesn't know.
Here's a little light thing from from the University of Washington. Let's see what they've been up to.
That roar is not coming from a snow machine. Instead, the plume you see are tiny aerosol particles. It's the first technology in the country to test ways to brighten clouds in an effort to cool snow.
This system is composed of three main components.
In these states, Jessica Medrado and a group of scientists from the University of Washington's Marine Cloud Brightening Program are mixing salt and water and using a compression system to test if this machine can distribute the right size particle. They say Alameda provides the perfect cloud conditions over the bay.
If you make particles that are too small, they are not going to create the effect that you want in this marine cloud. If you make them too big, they will actually create.
Oh my god! Oh, that's perfect timing.
I don't get it. Yeah, so basically they're manipulating the weather by trying to make the clouds brighter, right? So
Yeah.
that's pretty much the gist of what they were doing. And I take it that was a sign to move on forward.
No, I was just being a troll.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to do. Because she gave off that vibe to me.
I see.
Charlie,
yeah, it was great.
On the heels of that, here we actually have them making an actual cloud to make it rain.
Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And as it turns out, the cleanest.
Dude, this is so wild.
Now, the most amazing thing is that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor.
That's fucking crazy.
And in about
Yeah,
an hour's
dude,
time,
this
someone in
fucking
Mississippi is going to
goddamn-
get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you. It's raining. That's unbelievable. Oh.
What else do you need to see after that?
You know what that reminds me? That guy reminds me of the Gordon Ramsay of clouds. You know?
Yeah. The Gordon Ramsay of clouds.
Yeah. The hell are you on, Daimyo?
Unbelievable. No, what I'm trying to say though, like the video itself is kind of gnarly. I do think the technology that was shown in that video is real.
Yep.
But you know, there's kind of a aspect of like acting, right? Like can you disagree with me on that or no?
I see you're playing a little devil's advocate. I'll follow you along that. So sure, maybe that was just a coincidental rain and not from the actual cloud that was generated, and he was overhyped about it.
They
Nonetheless,
still
we still
generated a
seen them
cloud.
make a cloud, right?
Yes.
And that was on a television program showing that this can be done. Now, this kind of thing, making it rain, dates back quite a ways. This is a tale of Charles Hatfield, the Rainmaker. Watch this.
Rainmaker. Charles Hatfield was a self-proclaimed rainmaker who claimed he could bring rain to drought. His story began in the early 1900s when the people of San Diego were facing a severe drought. The city officials were desperate for a solution, and that's when they turned to Charles. Hatfield promised to bring rain to San Diego, and the city officials agreed to pay him $10,000 if he succeeded. Hatfield and his brother set up a series of towers around the city and began to spray a secret formula into the air. Amazingly, it worked. Within days, the skies opened up and rain poured down on San Diego. The drought was over, and the city officials were thrilled. But then something unexpected happened. The rain kept coming and coming and coming. The city was flooded, and many people lost their homes and businesses. Some even claimed that Hatfield's rainmaking had caused the disaster. Hatfield was accused of causing the flood, and he was never paid the full amount promised by the city officials. He spent the rest of his life defending his actions and trying to prove that he had not caused the disaster. So there you have it. The story of Charles Hatfield, the man who claimed he could make it rain.
And to this
Thoughts
day,
on that one?
Yeah, to this day, I read up on it. Scientists and nobody still says they have no idea what his secret formula was to create the rain.
I doubt that.
That's what they said. So I mean, I'm sure that's just BS. But
Well,
whatever he did,
I mean-
obviously worked.
I mean, so I found a little bit of authenticity to it. Not only is the story compelling, and I saw newspaper articles that were written about him at the time. He is a historical figure once you dig a little bit deeper. But also, what brought that to my attention, the reason I didn't use the video that I initially found, and it was on a local broadcast news station. They brought up this tale of this guy, and just the audio was so quiet you could barely hear it. But they did just about the same kind of presentation that we just watched there. But just yet another example of, even back in the early teens of the 1900s, there was signs of people already manipulating the weather, making it rain, and also something that's going to tie in with this. Usually, when this happens, there are consequences to this kind of stuff, right? And here we have a very mainstream, not something that I'm a fan of, but mainstream source, and they talk about it here.
Cloud seeding is something that I studied in school for meteorology, weather modification. Back when I went to school, it was like, I've poo-pooed a little bit. It was too expensive. It's not efficient enough. Well, guess what? When you get desperate and then technology gets better, 20 years later, here we are. Cloud seeding is ramping up so big. You see me there showing that flare on the plane. They send silver iodide into the clouds, and then it makes it snow more. Oh, wow. So they can't make a cloud, right? But they're taking storms that are already there and then giving it a little boost.
AKA chemtrails.
Correct. And also on that, I have. I'm whipping right.
Fucking Melvin. Man.
Up, Melvin.
Trippy, man.
Pipe down. Freaking women. Damn it. Hang on, I'm trying to grab it. There it is. Okay. So right here is the patent. Weather modification and rain-making technology. This was filed in 2003. And who was the person? We looked this up, did we not? No, we did not.
Not this.
This is somebody in Bangkok filed the patent.
Is that his name underneath the patent thing right there? Booma.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
That's the name right
I
there.
don't even know how to pronounce that. Play the clip.
Racist. You're racist.
Play the clip. It's time.
Who did?
Anyway, that's the patent. That's one of the patents that we have that we're showing.
Lolly.
And we discussed before we went live and whatnot. The patents don't necessarily prove anything, and I will acknowledge that. You know, they it's more of proof of concept. Like somebody went out of their way to actually patent the technology or the theory even of being able to do this. And again, we have a lot of evidence, a lot of statements and videos that describe, you know, these things actually happening.
I think it's pretty damn convincing. If two brothers back in 1915 could make it rain like that, it's hard to convince me that our government hasn't figured out something similar with all the technology and money that they have at their disposal.
Well, and then also with Tesla, like I'm pretty sure he got murdered for his.
Oh yeah, he's dead.
We're not going to go into that, but I'm pretty sure he got murdered for his ideology and findings. I'll just leave it at that for this one.
Right. So here's one from the official place, the Weather Channel. It's right behind Daimyo's head, so you can't really see it. But this is on the Weather Channel. Here you go.
Just another stormy, wet afternoon in Central Florida. But what if you could pick up all this rain and move it where it's needed? Texas or California? What if a laser could start to rain?
You can almost use it to set it off.
Matt Mills got into lasers as a kid.
It's just innately cool.
Now he's part of a team of scientists and military backers on the cutting edge of a new technology, making lasers powerful enough to reach up here into the sky where a thunderstorm is just about to start. In the near future, a push-button storm starter could be a real thing.
Just imagining this situation. If there was a rain cloud that was going to pass over an area of drought, and not rain, you could, theoretically induce the rain and get the rain where it's needed.
That storm starter isn't the laser beam itself, but rather a popping energy that comes off of much higher power beams than this one. The problem is those pops have always had trouble getting into the sky. Now Matt has discovered a way to get the laser to pop all the way in the clouds. In theory, that's what starts a storm. We created a cloud of our own behind Matt's lab. A few months ago, Matt's colleagues in Arizona got this working experimentally. The next step is to get it to work in the sky.
The particles in the air are rubbing together, forming static electricity, and the conditions are now right. And they just need to be triggered now.
Does this concern you that you may be messing with Mother Nature and doing something that you don't completely understand up here in the cloud?
I suppose that's always a danger, but we're not even near to the case where it could be dangerous yet, so not too much.
It's almost like an on-off switch for a thunderstorm.
That's the idea behind it.
Right here in the cloud.
Yep.
In Orlando, Dave Malkoff.
Yeah, my head's not that big, first of all.
You were just in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean that's pretty interesting.
So, Daimyo, you wanted me to bring this up.
Yes, sir. Let me. Okay.
Would you like me to zoom it?
Yes, sir. So 1990s, the UAE introduced a rain enhancement methodology called cloud seeding. Cloud seeding is the process of increasing the amount of rain produced from the clouds above, which is designed to improve water shortage issues in regions around the emirate. By the 2000s, Shalkin Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan. I might have butchered that,
Just
but I think
say the vice
No, you
president.
got it.
yeah,
You nailed it. You nailed
the
it.
vice president,
The vice president of UAE, Sheikh.
of the UAE. He allocated up to 20 million for research into cloud seeding. The UAE partnered with the National Center of Atmospheric Research in Colorado and NASA to set up the methodology of the cloud seeding program. Scroll, please.
Yeah, I got you. Chris's mic was doing that thing again.
Yeah. So rising global temperatures have added a strain on regions like the Middle East, which are extremely vulnerable to impacts of climate change. These nations are now faced with a big problem. How can they solve their water shortage? The United Arab Emirates, which is the UAE, less than 200 millimeters of rainfall a year, in stark contrast to London's average 1.051 millimeters and Singapore's 3.012 millimeters. In the UAE,
I think
temperatures.
that pretty much covers it there, buddy. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you have United Arab Emirates putting funding and research going back to the 90s, doing even more so later in the 2000s. Definitely, you know, this is what I was talking about when we were getting going. That a lot of this stuff, you know, hopefully before you started watching, you know, maybe you were in the mindset that you know, this is just crazy talk. There's no way you can manipulate the weather. Nobody does that. Nobody does any of that. Well, hopefully what I've shown you so far is kind of proven the point uh counter to that. And that
Well,
now you
it's
see that these have been common practices, including patents filed and multiple scientists and
so especially with cloud seeding. And pull up the article again one more time, Jim. Who is this from?
this is from CNBC.
So, but that's my point exactly. This is a quote unquote institutionalized news media, right? Like,
Legacy media.
yeah, it's a legacy media. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can argue that this stuff is chemtrails or conspiracy. At the end of the day, you've got regular media talking about this stuff. I think this is important to bring up. You know,
100%. You're absolutely right. And here's one more part to the cloud seeding for you. Let's go ahead and pull that up.
The cloud seeding is booming. They anticipate at least another 200 ground cloud seeding machines to be put in before next season.
Ginger, this is such a cool concept, but is it too good to be true? I mean, how do we know that the chemicals that they're spraying from the air aren't bad for us or the planet?
The good news is we've been doing this since the 1940s and 50s. Other countries do it. And we've been doing this since the 1940s and 50s. Other countries do it. And there have been a lot of research projects that have shown that the silver iodide, for example, is not found. It's negligible once it gets down to ground level.
So again, I don't want to be too skeptical, but is there anything wrong with manipulating nature like this?
I think that's the question we should have asked when we built every single parking lot and every rooftop. We have been manipulating weather with us for a very long time. I do think that looking at and continuing research on when these programs get bigger, if it will affect people downstream, that needs to be watched.
At least
it needs to be watched right now. But what did she say there?
The good news is we've been doing this since the 1940s and 50s.
Huh.
So for decades, it's been going on.
1940s and 50s.
Interesting, huh?
And
Stezo.
not just us, but a bunch of countries.
Yeah, Chris, thoughts, man.
Dude, it's pretty much been common knowledge now that they've had technology similar to this for decades. We've been doing it for a while.
But would you agree that it's been, it's been painted like this grand conspiratorial,
Right.
the chemtrails, the cloud seeding. Oh, you're a wacko, you're a nut. Go put your tinfoil hat on. Go sit next to your ham radio and just shut up.
Well, that's something like that. It's no different than the UFOs. They're going to demonize any kind of talk about it just to discredit anytime it gets brought up.
And yet, video after video today that I've been presenting to everyone, you have legacy media, you have mainstream scientists, you have all sorts of accounts where, albeit this is small potatoes compared to what we're about to get into, but weather manipulation nonetheless. Stezo, what do you think?
Yeah. So, like I said, it's good. It's good that you're showing that we're showing, because we could talk about that. There's still a lot of people that don't. They think that this is cloud seeding is a conspiracy and that it can't be done. But you're seeing it on a level at mainstream media, and they're accepting it. So these are the people, the talking points that and the groups they listen to most of the time. So far, everything that we've talked about in this show has been stated, fact checked, and is what is stuff that we know. Everything that we know. This is all facts. We haven't got to the could be or speculation or any of that. Everything here that we've talked about so far tonight has been facts, and so we just need to keep it going and see how let people go ahead and use their brains and see what they think about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Daimyo, what's your thoughts on what we just went through, the cloud seeding, which is also, the aerial cloud seeding is the chemtrails that people are talking about. Now, there might be different elements to the chemtrail stuff where they're putting sterilizing chemicals into the air or whatever, but what we're talking about here is silver iodide, dry ice, things that spur clouds on or give them a little boost, like they said on The View.
So up until this point, I think that the main thing we need to take away from this is that cloud seeding, weather manipulation, it's been coined as chemtrails, and in the 90s, you were looked at as a psycho or a conspiracy theorist for even entertaining the thought of chemtrails.
More recently than that.
Well, whereas now, like, technology is out there. Dubai, I don't think we've played the Dubai stuff yet, but Dubai, like they're like legit, like it. Not only is Dubai saying that they've done this, CNS or CNCB, the
SBC,
yes,
NBC.
There are
the alphabet.
Yeah, the alphabet mafia has been putting out that this technology is real. It's really not a conspiracy anymore that you can manipulate clouds. So where I want to take this is that this technology, it's not a fallacy. Like, this is something that's like it's being marketed, it's being controlled, it's real. So that's really that's really the stance I want to take on it, is that we're past the point of saying that chemtrail conspiracy theorists are crazy. Like,
Again, there are other elements to that, depending on what you want to think the chemtrails are doing and dropping and dispersing. But we are dropping shit in the clouds.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Like, I think chemtrails and cloud seeding, it's past the conspiracy point. It's more on the understand the technology point.
100%. 100%.
Now they're just trying to perfect it.
So if you're ready,
Yeah,
let's go
go
in
for it.
deep now, boys.
Next,
We're
on
gonna
to
go
the
in
next.
deep. We're gonna move on a little bit deeper in than cloud seeding here. Okay. So we've got bear with us here. This is the History Channel one. So I'm gonna pause here after a little bit and just make sure we're on the up and up. But yeah, here we go.
Alaska. The project is called HARP.
HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, originally a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy in cooperation with a number of academic institutions.
HARP is comprised of 180 antennas, approximately 72 feet tall, linked together to function as one giant steerable antenna.
So yeah, again, I kind of have to pause it just in case we don't want the stream to be taken down. History Channel is kind of known for that. But so HARP, what did that stand for again? I'm sorry.
I don't remember what it stands for, but I do know that HARP is similar in the sense with FEMA. It's a government paid for institution, right?
Right, it's funded by the military and assisted with, but we should be good to keep her going. Let's learn more.
Steerable because it can aim millions of watts of ELF waves into one tiny patch of the atmosphere.
The amount of energy we're talking about here is 3.6 million watts, injecting their entire output into a spot that's about 12 miles across by about 2.5 miles deep by about 90 miles up.
This is where HARP is pointing. It's an area located roughly 300 miles from Anchorage. The U.S. military says HARP is merely being used to study the physical and electrical properties and behavior of the ionosphere for both civilian and defense purposes. Another theory is surfaced. The intense energy being beamed into the sky by HARP is actually heating up the atmosphere, causing weather changes.
HARP is being used for weather modification. The military's own record proves it. They've admitted it within their own documents, and yet they still deny it to the public.
HARP is one of several ELF wave transmitters located all over the globe. The United States owns...
I do want to reiterate, this is from the History Channel, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the cue. HARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. That's what it stands for.
All I heard was HARP stands for taxes that you have to pay.
Yeah.
You're right.
One in Gacona, Alaska, another in Fairbanks, Alaska, and one in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. Russia has one in Vasilursky near Nizhny Novgorod, and the European Union has one near Tromsø in Norway. Working in tandem, these transmitters could potentially alter the weather anywhere in the world, changing the jet stream's course entirely, triggering massive rainstorms or droughts. Even hurricane steering would be possible by heating up the atmosphere and building up high-pressure domes that could deflect or change the course of hurricanes.
Yeah. Thoughts on that? I mean, you got something that could potentially change the jet streams. Vast, extreme manipulation of weather potential there. Of course, that's not what it's designed for, right? But it could be used as such. And here, that one specifically talked about the ones in Alaska and other things like that. This one is a little more along the lines of the next video too, but let's give it a quick watch here.
What is happening in the ionosphere to allow this control to take place? Ionospheric heaters use this D layer in the ionosphere. Notice it only forms in the daytime when the sun is up. At nighttime, it disappears completely, and the ionosphere is 170 miles up, and the ionospheric heaters cannot control the jet stream with that being so high up. But in the daytime, it's only 30 miles up. So here's a look at the hardware that's actually working out in the Pacific to destroy hurricanes and push warm air into the Arctic. So look at the hardware that's actually working out in the Pacific to destroy hurricanes and push warm air in.
To destroy hurricanes and push warm air. Right? What is that? What is that starting to sound like to y'all? Starting to sound like storm control to me.
Yes, sir.
Into the Arctic. This is the SPX-1 main transmitter unit, and off on the left here, you can see it's not a little doll or Barbie figure. It's a grown man. This is a really huge, terrible piece of hardware. That giant flat plate array transmitter is placed inside of a fabric radome. And this is a picture during assembly inside the radome. Each one of these little wedges is a transmit receive module, which transmits about 200 watts. So there are 45,000 transmit receive modules, and this antenna can detect an object the size of a baseball at a range of 2,500 miles. That is why I say this thing can project all that power into a pinpoint beam, totally computer controlled. The dome is 120 foot diameter. The power source is 3.6 megawatt generators for a total of almost 22 megawatts. And this HARP platform has a tow ship to move it around. So that 22 megawatts is not actually designed to go into the engines. That is designed to go into the transmitter unit. Other U.S. Navy ships have powerful microwave transmitters. This is the U.S. Navy ship Howard O. Lorenzen. It looks small, but it's actually 534 feet long. Each phased array, the boxes on the top of the deck, is a phased array transmitter. Synthetic aperture radar, whatever you want to call it, weighs 250 tons. And there's a crew of 88 on board. This is
So I found this one interesting, and that might have lost some of y'all, but I found this one interesting because it plays into the possibility and the potential technology to steer and control weather systems.
Yeah.
Which we are about to dive into a
Well,
little bit
and
deeper.
I will just
The
to play
technology
devil's
is pretty crazy too.
just to play devil's advocate. A lot of people who are in the military, like they won't be able to grasp that unless they're open minded, right? Like because I'm not in the military or haven't been, but I'll say like they're gonna look at that and be like that's a lie, you know. So it's
Yeah, I mean that very well could just be a storm identifying vessel for the Navy. And potentially, you know, it could be used for mine detection or whatever it could be, the ship itself. But the implications of
What it
what it
could be.
could be possibly used for. Again, that one's a bit of a stretch, but I found it a little interesting and just something to throw out there, something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
This right here is a lot more compelling, I will say. So here you go.
Government manipulating and even worse, controlling the weather using NextRad Doppler radar installations. It sounds like a conspiracy theory until you realize the U.S. government has these installations all over the United States. Watch.
Was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just the result of natural processes and climate patterns, or was it manipulated? The circular blue flashes seen in this video are frequency transmissions from the NextRad network of transmitter installations. All available science evidence makes clear that atmospheric frequency transmissions can and do have a repelling effect on air masses, especially if and when the air masses have been seeded with electrically conductive nanoparticles.
Right there we have seeded, of course. And Stizo, you were looking up before. What was NextRad in a nutshell? What is that?
It's basically a next generation version of Doppler, and basically what I got out for what they said as far as what this conspiracy goes is this is when they do the cloud seeding and stuff, and they get the whatever they're put in the atmosphere, that the next rat can go ahead and use that basically as an agent to help steer the storms and move them in a direction that it wants to go.
The theory is that they're bigger, more powerful. I made a joke while researching that it's
Yeah.
like the 5G towers of the
Right.
Doppler thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But really, so the theory is that now their signal boost is elevated to such that when they emit
frequency,
the pressure waves and the sonic waves, that it actually reacts to particles within a storm and is able to steer it. And within this right here, I kind of want to show when it's over North Carolina here, right? If you look on the coast there, once it gets up here, you're not seeing any flashes from over here. You're seeing a whole lot from the Tornado Alley, all this kind of area where it seems to be trying to push it east, and nothing is going off in the east until it gets forced back to where that one kind of quit on me, until it gets forced back into the area, right? And then you start seeing a little bit of flash to kind of keep it in that spot. And that's kind of the theory that we're working on, that the storm was directed to that area in North Carolina on purpose.
Right.
We'll watch the rest of this.
The air masses have been seeded with electrically conductive nanoparticles. The brighter the blue flash from a frequency transmission installation, the more pronounced and powerful the repelling effect on any air mass or storm in the vicinity will be. Where there are no blue flashes, there is no transmission, thus no repelling effect, thus no resistance for a migrating storm. Translation: a migrating storm will be hindered from moving toward frequency transmissions and will easily migrate in a direction with no transmissions. So again, I ask, was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just an act of nature, or was it engineered?
Right. So, thoughts, gentlemen?
That's pretty crazy, man. I mean, especially during certain points in that video where, like, when it's moving across the East Coast, and there's the wall of blue to the left, pretty much just seems like it's keeping it going straight. I mean, if once you realize how it works, it's pretty convincing.
Right. And to pile on top of that video, I've got this here. So this man.
Now, I want to start off by apologizing to all you people who have talked about this created weather, because I've laughed at you and thought you were all fucking stupid. Download the Flight Aware app to your phone. Flight Aware. It's a aircraft tracking application, and somebody in the aircraft industry told me about it because I refinished automobiles and aircraft, and they seen what I'm doing here on TikTok, and dude's like, man, you might want to check this out. Now get on that app and type in flight number NOAA 42, NOAA 42. And watch the path of this flight right before Hurricane Helene. These storms went up through North Carolina. And tell me if my phone wasn't listening when I was talking about this shit. Type of.
Right. So with that, we kind of have the flight path of the aircraft that he's talking about, and what this part of it is the I'm not even showing, my bad. What this part of it is basically this is the element of seeding the storm with the electrically charged particles to enable it to be controlled, right? That's the theory on this. Now, to play devil's advocate, it could very easily just be a common hurricane survey, which happens in all, almost all hurricanes. So it's not out of the ordinary, but it is an element to keep in mind. And on top of that, I have something that compounds upon that right here. We'll get that rolling.
I'm not saying that the government created Hurricane Helene. What I am saying is that the government has been manipulating the weather since 1947. What first caught my attention with Helene was the shift in the storm's projected path. One day it looked like it would hit my town. The next day it had shifted east. I then noticed an odd flight path of NOAA 42, the aircraft being flown, a Lockheed Martin Orion P-3. This prompted me to look at previous uses for the P-3, where I discovered that they were used in the 1960s to manipulate Hurricane Camille in a, quote, weather war on Cuba. Now, I know this sounds out there, but as we begin to see more and more the terrible things our government has done in the past, is it really so far-fetched? Here are the projections from the 23rd of September. A large spread traveling the Alabama-Georgia line and ending up in Illinois. On the 24th, projections shift slightly east, and the storm is projected to finish in Indiana. On the morning of the 25th, the path shifts back west and shows to be finishing in western Kentucky. That evening, a P-3 conducts a 6-hour operation inside the developing storm. The next morning, on the 26th, the path shows to have shifted slightly east again, now finishing in northwestern Tennessee. The evening of the 26th, the same P-3 conducts operations throughout Hurricane Helene as it makes landfall, and the storm's actual path shifts further east, finishing in northeastern Tennessee. What would the government's motivations possibly be to modify a storm? That I don't know. But I do believe that if we can maintain our republic long enough, time will eventually tell.
So yeah, again, all part of the theory compounding here, but that particular plane model is kind of known for seeding. Here, I'll pull this back up. This right here is what he was talking about, the Lockheed P-3. Kind of known for doing this kind of thing. So it raises questions. Is this a plane that I mean a fucking prop plane that you take into a hurricane to survey a hurricane over the top of it and check the eye wall and do whatever they do on those flights? Maybe it's the perfect fit for the job, but who knows, man? Who knows? What are your thoughts, boys?
I think that P-3 Orion plane is also used in submarine and electronic warfare, and it's basically used for multi-role. And not only could it be up in there just seating, maybe another plane seated it, got up in there and was flying around with its antennas and stuff, setting off charges and helping steer. I mean, I'm just speculating because that's what we are doing here. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that the capabilities of that plane are many.
All you got to hear is Lockheed Martin, and that's all. That's it. That's all you got to hear.
Yeah, right.
Who's the other?
So yeah, that's where I stand with it. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the seating person. Maybe it's the vessel that's controlling too. So I don't know. China's doing the same thing, but they're using drones to do it. Between the seating and the steering, they're actually using drones.
That's what I regret to inform everyone. I don't have any information on China's involvement with weather manipulation.
Well, they stole our information, so it's the same thing. Whatever you post about us,
likely, right?
Let's just be honest. But that's my take on it. It's like this is not shocking to me, and it, like I said, is it happening? I can't say. But at this point, we've already established fact on what we did know. Now we're going into the speculating part. But we have enough evidence, like where there's smoke, there's fire, and that's where I'm at right now.
Right. Yeah, and here we looked at this earlier. This is another patent filed with the U.S. Patent Office, and And Stizo, do you still have the information on
Yeah.
this man
So,
here, Adam?
yeah. So I think his name was Andrew or Adam.
Andrew.
Andrew. Yeah. So this guy, he came up with a patent. This one's weird, just even reading his background, but he came up with this patent where you could came up with a device where you could steer hurricanes and tornadoes. And so he filed it in 2001, and then it was what I found upon follow up is it was that patent was actually abandoned in 2008 or maybe 2008, basically somewhere in there, because when you establish a patent, if you get inquired from the patent office, like if there's an inquiry about certain questions on how does this work or whatever, to make sure there's no other patents that it's infringing on.
Right.
If you don't answer those questions or get back to them, then you abandon your patent request, and that's what happened with this one. So it was filed, but it's no longer, I guess, established or still in existence.
Right. And just to touch on the particulars for this one, this is a method to disclose to affecting the formation or direction of low atmospheric pressure, audio generators, so basically frequency, but in this particular, are positioned to project sound waves towards the whatever area of a weather system, and the sound waves are generated at a frequency to affect the formation of the weather system in a manner to disrupt, enhance, or direct the formation. The sound waves can also be projected in a manner that causes the system to produce rain. So again, this is a little bit for me proof of concept of the next rad that we touched on earlier. So although that's Doppler, but what is Doppler? Doppler is um, it's very similar to sonar. It's sending out waves, frequencies, in particular sounds at a frequency that we don't hear, and potentially ones that can disrupt atmospheric pressures and storms. So that's kind of some of the sketches they've got, but yeah, it's like real life twisters here. Again, I mean, I said before the patent thing, you could take it with a grain of salt, but I mean, somebody took the time to file a patent on it, so do with that information as you will. Know what I'm saying?
It lets you know there's work being done somewhere.
Somebody thinks they have something, and
Right.
Again, this was what, 2001, right?
2008.
Well, 2008 is when it was
when it
announced,
was out.
like abandoned. But yeah, super interesting stuff. Damio, you've been awfully quiet. What are your thoughts, Bubba?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the cloud seeding and I think there's something to be said about this. With Dubai and chemtrails, I think there's something when it comes down to the whole we're a conspiracy channel in this sense. I would say that this topic specifically it's not really conspiracy at this point. Like it's the technology is shown.
Yeah.
Do you guys
Well,
disagree?
It's the difference between having the technology and what they use the technology for. You know what I mean?
Right, but the technology it's clear cut in my
The
opinion.
technology's there. I agree. The technology's there. It's been there.
Yeah.
So
that's really that's my standpoint so far. Jim, do you disagree with this?
No, I'm right there with you. I think all of these things are paying credence to the possibility, and not even the possibility, but the probability that this is
Well,
not only probable,
it's not even
but
probability.
right.
It's there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's becoming practical, or at the very least plausible. Like,
Yeah.
Again, it's the difference between having the technology and what are they actually using it for. You can't really argue that the technology is not there.
Clearly, people are working towards it. We have scientists, we have legacy media outlets talking about these kind of things.
Well, Jim, have we gotten to the point of the the different news outlets that I've provided? Have we gotten to that yet?
We touched on the United Arab Emirates one, but we
Okay.
scrapped the Dubai one. Remember?
Yeah.
But this one here, so along the same vein as the steering patents that we just pulled up from Mr. Andrew. We also have another one here from a familiar name that you might recognize.
When you hear the name Bill Gates, you probably think Microsoft founder, but now the billionaire may be known as the hurricane tamer. Gates is listed as one of 13 inventors on a patent filed for hurricane prevention methods. Hurricanes gain strength from condensation driven by warm surface water, which leads to greater wind speeds. Gates and his team plan to use a fleet of ships to cool warm surface water by mixing it with colder water from greater depths. They hope this will sap energy from growing storms, leading to weaker, less devastating hurricanes. The patent, which isn't expected to be approved for another 18 months, was submitted by Seareed LLC, a sub-entity of an Intellectual Ventures and an invention acquisition and development firm. When you
Brother, that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah. Sure is weird. He seems to have his hands dipped in everything, huh?
Interesting, ain't it?
COVID, I mean, he's always up in shit, man.
He's got his hands in everything. It's like he's part
Almost
of that
like he's up to
world
something.
order that we heard about earlier. Right?
Yeah.
All right, so here
This is his patent with the like.
this is the patents for Bill Gates there, or the peoples that he's associated with, which he is in the name, right?
William H. Gates III.
That's right. So again, yet another example of patents, but on top of that, a prominent figure and name that is recognizable. Let's see. Chris, would you like to read out the abstract for me here? Can you see it good?
Let's see. All right. It's a method is generally described, which includes environmental alteration. The method includes determining a placement of at least one core vessel capable of moving water to lower depths in the water via wave-inducing downwelling. The method also includes placing the at least one vessel in the determined placement. Further, the method includes generating movement of the water adjacent the surface of the water in response to the placing.
So this seems like.
What do you think, Antonio?
Seems like it's a little more out at sea kind of manipulation. Yeah, interesting shit there, huh? Stito, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like we're going where we started at, and I feel like we're just getting it's keep it going, man. I'll wait till you're done with this whole thing because the thoughts are. I know you have some videos I haven't seen yet, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on the whole harp and weather steering all. Because man, this is getting to me right now. Like wow.
For sure. Well, we
fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Well, we're pretty much moving on to another segment, which I kind of labeled as historical precedent. And we'll kick it off. We will check back in with Michio Kaku. If I said that
Yeah.
right, I think that was
Yeah.
pretty close.
That's as you
No,
said.
that was that was racist.
Why don't you open your eyes when you talk to me?
Damn.
Yeah, just let it fly.
Oh, make you want to kick a fat kid at Kmart. You know what I'm saying? Praise God, baby.
Okay. So again, we're back.
Little Theo Von.
We're back with Dr. Kaku here. So let's see what he says this time.
And even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply...
Yeah, that's pretty much. So again, and he brings up some interesting stuff with Vietnam there. And, you know, they had to shut him up real quick there. If you
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But let's see here. Let me fix my stuff. Let's get the next one rolling. We will be going right into it here. Yeah. Okay.
In an interview with the Los Angeles Times on April 21st, you said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that
Let me preface this real quick. This is a congressional hearing that happened June 16th of 1995.
1995.
Yes, sir.
New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and to control the rest. Would you explain what you were trying to say?
Well, what I was trying to say is exactly what I said. There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number one, the entire patents on the equipment. Number two, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, we even utilize it as far back as the Vietnam War. You might want to touch base
That's
with
all right,
Senator
but
Pell.
I just want to repeat.
Yes, but we do have all that information.
You're saying the government has created weather tampering techniques so that the, quote, New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans.
Worldwide.
Millions of Americans and to control the rest.
Yes, sir. And that's my belief. As bizarre as that sounds, if somebody had told me that equipment even existed 10 years ago, I would have thought they were nuts, sir. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally, and as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents. As bizarre as that is, I would say that weather wars, and this is quoting actually Senator Claiborne Pell himself, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world, and that's the senator's own statement. So yes, I do stand on.
That's pretty goddamn convincing.
Yep.
God damn, man.
Yeah.
Sad Daimyo is going to miss this, but he stepped out again. Both Michio Kaku and in that Senate hearing, we heard twice that Vietnam was brought up.
Yep.
This is building to something. So here's a little more for you.
Bro. You again. What do you want? I need some real conspiracy stuff. All these nut jobs talking about the hurricane and the government making it rain and all that. Such idiots, dude. Can you believe they believe something so dumb? You ever heard of Operation Popeye? Happened during Vietnam. We were getting sick of them supplying everything to the Viet Cong through the Ho Chi Minh Trail, so we made it rain for a long time. To make the rain, make the trails muddy so they couldn't deliver supplies. And guess what, pretty boy? It was a success. Mudslides and all. Yeah. But the government wouldn't do that to our own people.
Yeah, maybe the government's ultra nice and would never do anything against their people, except for when you look in a history book for 8 seconds and you realize, oh, wait a minute, this same government did the Tuskegee experiments, where they basically gave black people syphilis or allowed syphilis to thrive so that those same black people would give it to their wives and children and watch them die. And the government called their little doctors and said, don't you tell them what we're doing. We just want to watch and see them die real slow like so we can study it. It's a dark road once you start following it, Johnny. Okay. The reason people are skeptical is because they know more than you. Now, anytime you want some more, you just come on back, okay?
It's true, man. It's a dark road once you start going down it.
Yeah, so a little more humor in there with that one, of course, but
that's a light way of saying what we're trying to say.
Still, once again, I mean, it's leading into what I've actually got here for you. We're only going to play the beginning segment of this, of course, but we heard Operation Popeye. Listen to this.
As the Vietnam War reached a crossroads, the U.S. Army had important decisions to make if they wanted to tip the scale back to their side. All options were on the table, both conventional and unconventional. And among the most unusual plots was Operation Popeye, launched in an attempt to weaken the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the Viet Cong's most vital mechanism and supply flow tool. To accomplish this, the U.S. would turn the weather into a weapon of war. Operation Popeye utilized cloud seeding technology, a type of weather modification that artificially creates rain or snow. With it, the U.S. military extended at least 5 monsoon seasons, causing detrimental effects to the unknowing Vietnamese citizens and soldiers. The mission spanned 5 years and cost taxpayers over $15 million. Despite multiple hearings in Congress, military officers, and even President Nixon himself denied it existing at all.
You don't say. Denied it existing, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, didn't that lady, the anchor lady at the beginning, say she wanted to emphasize when he said that it happened? She said allegedly, but that video was 9 years ago, but it's been disclosed since then that it wasn't alleged. That's a proven fact. We deal with facts here.
Yeah, man. So I'm on the position that, I'm not here to tell you exactly what to think. That, you joke there that these are facts, and Operation Popeye is incredibly believable for me. Although a lot of records have been scrubbed and a lot of hush hush has happened, but that like the jokester said earlier, it's a dark road once you go down it and once you follow it. There's I found a lot of weight in that, because even in Forrest Gump there,
well,
it just rained and rained and rained.
Yeah, it rained sideways, and one day it was like, no. I was going to send you that clip, but
yeah, life is like a box of chocolates.
No, not that one. The rain one. The rain one.
No, look, I was gonna say, like, if you're skeptical, when it comes to Operation Popeye, you're gonna automatically just say that it's not real. That's unfortunately how most people think. If you're not open to this topic, do you guys disagree? Because I think for the most part, like, if you're not open minded, Operation Popeye, you're just gonna pass off as another.
At what point, though,
Certainly
could
could.
someone, in the face of how so much evidence, at what point does just saying it's not real just become like a redundant?
The point would be it doesn't fit in with their ideology.
Well, right, exactly.
That's
Exactly.
what I come down to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to do the best I can here to not convince people, but just present you with things that I found fascinating, things that
Yep.
are worth a bit of a double take for me. Operation Popeye was new to me. I never heard about this before, but
Yeah.
you know, extremely believable, especially, you know, we have accounts that we heard today that weather manipulation dates back to the 40s and 50s,
Mhm.
prior to the Vietnam War. There's so many things that compound upon this, and also you can go ahead and pile on distrust of the media, distrust of the government. We
Mhm.
still the JFK files are still locked, right? I mean, we have a reason to be skeptical,
Right.
and to just poo poo and just shut down and ignore, as if we were uh, judges that refuse to even look at a case of election fraud, like
Yeah.
threw it out before they even took a glance at it, like that is just a bit irresponsible and a bit
Yeah.
to me
Well, fortunately,
a
thanks to
bit
social
naive.
media, that age of them just shutting the conversation down is kind of over. You know what I mean?
Well, but
Thankfully.
look, what I was trying to say is that, like, I mean, Jim, without putting out names, I mean that you and I both know someone that, like, they're not gonna just believe, even though we've presented all this stuff, like,
Yeah, it's
and
okay.
that's kind of the point I'm
Not
trying
gonna
to
watch.
make. Like, there's gonna be people that, like, they don't buy any of the. They're not even willing to acknowledge.
Oh, and we're not trying to sell anything either. So
Exactly, but that's my point. Like,
Some people just want to stay tucked in their nice little bubble. You know what I mean? And those
yeah.
people, you just got to let them do their thing.
let them enjoy their blissful ignorance. And
Right.
I mean, hey, if it never affects them, it never affects them. But you know,
Look, I would say the amount of digging that we've done, it 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 warrants a level of respect, right? Like,
100%.
we're actually looking at certain things from an outside perspective. It's just, that's really where it gets me. Like, there are a lot of people that are just like, they're gonna
Yeah.
they're not even gonna acknowledge what we've talked about tonight. They're
Right.
just gonna be like,
You can't let those people affect your message, though. You know what I mean? You have to keep preaching,
Yeah.
showing what do your thing without worrying about what those people are just gonna believe what they want to believe. You know what I mean? Just let
yeah.
them do their thing.
It is sad though.
It is sad, yeah. It's sad, but you can't reach everybody. You know what I mean?
for sure. Well, hopefully this this compiles a little bit. This is extremely interesting. I suggest your full attention.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Project Cirrus is the first official attempt to modify a hurricane. It was run by General Electric with the support of the US military. The official theory was that by changing the temperature outside the eye wall of a hurricane, which they did by seeding the clouds with various compounds such as silver iodide, a decrease in strong winds will result. On October 13th, 1947, Project Cirrus targeted a hurricane heading out to sea. Approximately 180 pounds of dry ice was dropped into the clouds. The crew then reported a pronounced modification of the cloud deck, and the hurricane abruptly changed direction and made landfall near Savannah, Georgia. The public blamed the government. Irving Langmuir, who pioneered General Electric's atmospheric research department and admitted that the project was about learning how to weaponize the weather, also claimed the reversal of the hurricane had been caused by Project Cirrus, but the government denied it for 12 years. After a short delay, the project officially continued, and in 1965, Project Storm Fury had targeted Hurricane Betsy for seeding. On that day, the storm immediately changed direction and made landfall in southern Florida. Congress blamed it on Project Storm Fury, but the government claimed that the hurricane shifted before they ever had a chance to seed it. And after 2 months of congressional hearings, the project was allowed to continue. During the Vietnam War, weather modification was weaponized in Operation Popeye. And as a result, starting in October of 1978, an international treaty now prohibits the military use of weather modification. In 1997, U.S. Defense Secretary William Cohen said that we have enemies capable of altering the climate and setting off earthquakes and volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. And so controlling the weather seems to be a very real thing. And while the media lies to you, the government has placed gag orders on employees of the National Weather Service who have sought legal counsel to reverse these illegal gag orders. And they no longer need to seed the clouds. Chemtrails, or as John Brennan of the CIA calls it, stratospheric aerosol injection, allows these black government projects the ability to put whatever they want into the skies.
Why the fuck would you need a treaty to ban something that doesn't exist?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I have something interesting. If we want to hit the other side of denying that it exists, how do we explain this? This is from congress.gov. This is a bill that was brought for weather modification research and development Policy Authorization Act of 2005. Somebody explain this to me.
I mean,
if it's not real and not possible,
right?
I think it's real. I mean, we looked at this over before. At the end of the day,
What does this bill do? What does this bill do? I'm sorry, Dimo, I didn't mean to interrupt you, bro.
No, you're good, dude. Go on.
I was just curious what this bill was for.
I would read here.
I can barely see that shit.
Oh, because you're on your iPad.
No, I'm on my phone right now, bro. I can't
shoot.
see. I can't see anything.
Stezo, you want to?
Yeah, I'll read it. I'll read.
You know what? Hang on. This has a cool feature.
Oh, we can play it.
There are two summaries for S.
No, fuck
517.
that. Stop
Bill
that.
summaries
Stop
are
that.
authored by CRS.
Stop that.
Shown here.
Stezo,
Reported to
you
Senate
read it.
I'll read it. I'll read it. Blow back up again.
I don't need AI, Karen.
I can
You read
Okay.
it. You read it.
There you go. All right. So, are you ready? That paragraph starts with requires, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Requires the director to develop and submit a plan for coordinated federal activities under the program, which shall, one, for a 10-year period, establish the goals and priorities for federal research that most effectively advances scientific understanding of weather modification. Two, describe specific activities required to achieve such goals and priorities, including funding of competitive research grants, training, and support for scientists and participation in international research efforts. Three, identify and address as appropriate relevant programs and activities of the federal agencies and departments that would contribute to the program. Four, consider and use as appropriate reports and studies conducted by federal agencies and departments and other expert scientific bodies, including the National Research Council report on critical issues of weather modification research. 5, make recommendations for the coordination of program activities with weather modification activities of other national and international organizations. 6, incorporate recommendations from the Weather Modification Research Advisory Board. And 7, estimate federal funding for research activities to conduct under the program. Finished.
So it sounds like Congress wants to be fully vetted with everything that's going on.
There's a fucking board.
Yeah.
So weather manipulation is real, right? Like, can we?
That's
can
what
we?
it seems.
Yeah.
That's what it seems. And to compound upon
So,
that.
so that's not denying. They're not even denying it. That's out there.
No. And to compound upon that, you have Tennessee lawmakers voting to ban geoengineering
with allusions to
chemtrails and conspiracy theories.
But
they
Jim,
passed a bill in their House of Representatives.
Jim, can I just say you're a conspiracy theorist, and you're a conspiracy theorist. So are we, and nothing that we have to say means anything, right? Like,
let's not be facetious here, but no, I mean that's just going to be is what it is. But
yeah,
I mean, it's becoming more and more clear here. Now, whether or not it was steered to do what it does, we'll get to why that's a possibility of happening. But at this point, I think we've pretty well established that weather manipulation and geoengineering, not only feasible,
it's a very real thing. Very real thing. Technology exists. It's practiced. It's been utilized in various situations. So I think all that shit's pretty safe to say, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It's a wild topic. That's what I was saying. Like, but we also had to be careful with this one, right? Like with what's happening in North Carolina, Florida.
Yes, I mean that's what I was saying earlier. Like, there's a difference between having the technology and what it's utilized for in terms of, you know what I mean.
And I think that we're not even being like conspiratorial with this stream. Like we've given more than enough to present to you guys, like that, like
the technology exists. Yeah,
the technology exists. It's not just us being like, oh, weather manipulation. Like, no. Like there's Congress hearings. We've laid it out for you guys, right? Like, if
very good job.
Yeah, and I will say, Jim, you did a lot of this for us.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, bro. You lined up a very impressive lineup of videos to lay the facts down and kind of.
We're not done yet. I know we are 2 hours and 20 minutes in, but we are not done yet, gentlemen. We still have more. It gets a little deeper. Again, like Daimyo was saying, we're not too heavy in the conspiracy. I think as deep conspiracy wise that we've gone is the steering of it. And we are heading back in that direction now.
All right, my friends, no time to waste here. Did you
And this one's a bit quiet. You might have to turn it up a little bit.
know that the United States has multiple patents on how to steer and control hurricanes and tornadoes? Yes, this is very real and it's backed by sources, as well as our own NOAA website, which discusses weather manipulation and what steps you or I would have to take in order to do our own weather manipulation. My friends, this is no joke. Many people believe that weather manipulation was used for Hurricane Helene, then somehow coincidentally stalled over the rare lithium-producing towns of Western and North Carolina, which is the exact location of the largest lithium deposit we have in the United States. Now, something to keep in mind while moving forward, ever since we left Afghanistan, we have lost the ability to mine lithium there, where most of it used to come from. Now we are stuck having to fill this insane demand we have for this lithium right here in the United States. Once again, the largest deposit being right over the towns that just got completely destroyed by this hurricane. All right, so before I tie this all up with this lithium situation.
Okay. That pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about. So again, we're pivoting back to the storm being purposefully manipulated to wipe out the area of North Carolina. And that's starting to lay out why, or the reasons of why this would be affected. And it all revolves around these lithium mines that have been recently found in the mountains of North Carolina. And we will roll right into this.
Remember we were talking about the conspiracy around the hurricane stuff?
Yes.
Literally after we stopped filming it, I saw like 10 or so posts talking about this area in North Carolina that is one of the world's largest deposits of lithium.
Oh gosh.
And it's in a residential zone.
Yeah, you can't mine it.
And they've gone to these people supposedly and said, we'd like to purchase your land. And they all refused.
Are you kidding me?
And now that exact same spot is
This is Maui all over again.
It's lithium rich in this area that was wiped out.
And so now we have to keep an eye on that area because what the fuck are they
So-
going to do? But yeah,
I-
people
I-
won't be able to afford to rebuild. So if
Yeah.
someone can come in and cover like the remaining mortgage, families will go somewhere else and start over.
Yeah.
Behind.
So I know Rob dipped out, but from my understanding, like the area that he was helping out with, that's the direct location that they need, that they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty close too.
That's the direct area. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's a fucking talk about conspiracy. I think like that's the biggest one of them all.
This is what we're kind of here for. That's what the whole buildup was. To then try to look at this at an angle where we understand that manipulation and this stuff is not as far-fetched as we once thought it was. So here's a little more into it.
That one of the areas affected by Hurricane Helene is the world's largest lithium deposit, and the DoD just entered into an agreement with this company right here to mine lithium for electric cars starting in 2025. Now that area is completely devastated. This is a $90 million agreement between the DoD and this company right here to get Kings Mountain, North Carolina lithium mine up and running by 2030. If that area has been inundated, is in a disaster zone, then the government can come in and do eminent domain and they can pay you what it was worth 5 years ago rather than what it's worth right now. Imagine that your home has turned into a watery lot and the government comes to you and says, hey, I'll pay you what you paid for it. You're going to take it and you're going to go, right? What do you think is going to happen right here now that they want this lithium mine up and running by 2025, 2030 at the latest? Back in 1947, we had the Florida-Georgia hurricane, or Hurricane 9, and it was the first hurricane to be targeted for weather modification. What happened was General Electric, U.S. Navy, the Army, the Air Force, they poured dry ice into this hurricane using airplanes to see what would happen. Would they slow it down? Well, what happened was it slowed down a little bit, but it turned west really sharp. Let me show you. This is the path that the hurricane took in 1947. Does it look similar to you? Probably not. It's a coincidence, right? Moving on. I'm sure this is just another coincidence, but do you know who owns the most shares in that lithium mine? BlackRock and Vanguard.
Fascinating. Their names came up.
Hey, it's weird coincidence, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Seems to be a lot of those.
Yeah. So she brought up the DoD contract, which we did pull up here. And really, Daimyo, if you're up for it.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Just zoom in a little bit. Yeah.
And grab
So the 90 million agreement entered into under Defense Production Act and or DPA. The authorities and utilizing funds appropriated by the what is that?
Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah, Inflation Reduction Act will be support
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name either.
yeah. I got kind of stuck on
Or
that.
his planned reopening of the King mines in
Yeah.
North Carolina, lithium mines to increase the domestic production of lithium for the nation's battery supply chain. I'm not even going to try his name. Estimates that Kings Mountain will be operational by 2025 and 2030. So it's not just Kings Mountain though. There's also and I forget the other one. It starts with a P. I can't believe it's not in here.
Yeah, my bad about that.
Hey, you're good. Either way, it's the DoD itself has put out, an arrangement for the Defense Production Act to do so. So there's some incentive right there for federal government potentially wanting to get people out of the damn way, And here's a little interesting angle to that as well. It's going to be quiet, so turn it up.
Please don't scroll. Please watch this entire video because you will see. So please, video. So between Kings Mountain and Chimney Rock, North Carolina is the largest lithium deposit in the world. And the rights are owned by Albemarle Global. And on September the 24th, they actually applied for federal and state permits to redirect and reconstruct their mining operation between Kings Mountain and Chimney Rock. So Albemarle is owned mostly by stockholders, Vanguard and BlackRock Group. Well, guess who the biggest investor in BlackRock and Vanguard is? Douglas Emhoff, Kamala Harris's husband. So Albemarle is home headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina. And when these permits get approved, they're proposing $250 billion yearly in mining. Douglas Emhoff's stock holdings just went up substantially.
Yeah,
Okay,
so interesting. There's also financial ties for the Harris family.
Mm-hmm. Massive financial ties annually.
That video is so suspect because they're I feel like it's pretty clear cut that they're the people investing in these areas and these towns that just so happen to be affected by the hurricane. They're getting fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep.
Am I wrong on that?
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked up, man. What they're having to go through. But it boils down to, with the technology that we've seen these videos and pretty good showcase of the fact that some type of weather modification exists. How far do you think the government would be willing to go to utilize that, for whatever reason, financial gain, whatever it may be? You have to ask yourself if they would be willing to go there.
You're talking $250 billion potentially, if not even more. I mean,
annually.
So many of these states want to go all electric and all that kind of stuff, and we need lithium for batteries and That seems to be the way that the Green New
The
shit
Green
show
New
wants
Deal.
to go. So upon that, like, so why would they need to destroy and devastate an area to get them to leave? Well, here's a little bit about that. Residents weren't happy. This is in 2021 when talks were first happening.
11 cries of "not in my backyard" echoing through Gaston County tonight. Dozens of residents are speaking out to county commissioners against a proposed lithium mine moving into the area. And many are concerned about the environmental impact and a disruption to everyday peace of mind. On the other hand, though, a small number of others showing support for the mine, saying it's a potential economic boost. WCNC Charlotte's Brianna Harper explains more.
Yeah, I mean, it goes on, but for the most part, you kind of get the gist there that the locals weren't really having it. And another one of our videos that we watched earlier also alluded to it being pretty much right over a residential area. So all these people would have to be relocated and, change where they're at and do all that. And they're not willing to play ball. So
Crazy.
it opens the opportunity to extreme measures.
Crazy. The government's never done forced
Right.
relocations before.
Right. That's what I was saying. You got to ask yourself, once it gets to that point, do you think the government would be willing to step over that line and do what needs to be done to get whatever they want?
And here's what's crazy to me. This right here is the governor of North Carolina. Listen carefully to what he says.
We work with them. We have plans for local governments. In some areas, you just shouldn't build back. And we've been able to convince certain communities and people that buyouts are better. And you create communities. We work with them. We have plans.
I'm gonna let it play one more time, just so you're sure you heard that right.
For local governments, in some areas, you just shouldn't build back. And we've been able to convince certain communities and people that buyouts are better. And
We've been able to convince.
Right. So like if your family, because I mean I'm sure you're aware of this too, dog, and you get in those rural communities in the South or even on the East Coast, you're talking about generations where these families have been there for 150, 200 years on the same piece of property, and they got their own family cemeteries there. Everyone's buried, and now you're going to force me to move? Like, they don't understand. If they're you just don't say, even if it's like, even if it's in the sticks or off the grid, maybe they're happy there, and that's all that matters. Who's a government entity that comes from the city and has air conditioning and running water that wants to come tell somebody who's completely content living off the grid where his family grew up, instead of saying that, no, well, it's just better, you shouldn't rebuild here.
Yeah, and a lot of times people out there in the sticks, they don't want anything to do with the government anyway.
Exactly. Well, we heard from the sheriff in the very beginning of there. Right?
That's a real attitude.
Them stay the fuck out.
Yep.
Just get the hell out of there. And I'd say with this video, it's gonna kind of bring us to a close here. I do have one more to follow it that I just found, but let's listen to this. They'll put on a pretty good recap of a lot of what we talked about, and it's very well done. I forget his name, Colonel Mick something.
I'm not aware of his name.
I forget. We'll probably hear it. All right, here we go.
How does this hurricane's path differ from others that we've seen? I've already had a lot of people call me from the Asheville area, talk specifically about the horrendous damage, and many of them pointed out that is not Hurricane Alley per se. It's not an area that normally attracts storms. Can you help us understand this?
Well, the bottom line is it was directed there as the
transmission recordings clearly show. They kept that moisture corralled there to deluge in the same location. So again, these are patented technologies, and the fact that we have the entire so-called meteorological community denying that this is going on to protect their paychecks and pensions is absolutely criminal at this point. We know we have private defense contractors that are neck deep in the patents that manipulate these storms, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. We know those two in particular do the weather modeling for the nation's weathermen, National Weather Service and NOAA. Again, both agencies have an illegal federal gag order on them. So at this point, this is an emperor has no clothes moment. That's the best description I can give for something that is so blatantly obvious and inarguable, can only be considered weather warfare at this point. And the fact that, again, the so-called science community is denying this manipulation is criminal. It's absolutely criminal, Colonel McGregor.
If you can do so, could you tell us about some of your recent discussions, conversations, briefings that you've had with political leaders from the states in question that have asked you what you think? First of all, what did they specifically ask you, if you could tell us, and how did they respond to your answers?
Yes, Colonel McGregor, I had an hour conference call yesterday with the representatives and senators from the Carolinas, and we presented the data to them to answer their questions about how this manipulation occurs. They realized this was not a natural event. They're trying to digest the fact that their states were literally under assault from weather modification operations that are clearly connected with DoD operations, and we can speculate again on the agendas and objectives being carried out, but the fact that the storm was manipulated is absolutely inarguable. We know that technology to stop these rotations from even occurring has existed for decades with the manipulation of atmospheric pressure zones. HAARP in Alaska is one example many people are familiar with. That's an ionosphere heater. That's a weapon of mass destruction, period. It can cause an electrical chain reaction in the ionosphere, which heats it to extraordinarily high temperatures, which causes the atmosphere to bulge up and down. The downward push creates a high pressure dome that can steer the jet stream. And the same type of manipulation can create low pressure zones. When they have this type of power over the climate system, they can make or break these storms anytime they want. And again, what we see now is storms kept weaker as they're over the ocean because they're harder to steer until they reach the land-based network of transmitters. And then we have, Colonel McGregor, rapid intensification. You've heard that term probably a lot lately because that's how they manipulate these storms. And again, we have Acapulco last October.
By the way, hit pause.
Being an extreme example.
Back it up 15 seconds.
Yeah, I'd say that pretty much wraps a lot of the things we were talking about. He circled back to HAARP.
Yeah.
You know,
Back to the transmitters on land.
Yep.
That video we saw from earlier with the blue waves kind of pushing the storm around.
Yep. Yeah. Just a whole lot of fishy business, and hopefully this has given y'all something to think about. Something else to keep in mind, you know, while all this was happening and while we were waiting a response from this good for nothing administration, let's just remember what Kamala Harris decided to do. Okay?
What made you want to do Caller Daddy today? Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this.
You shouldn't have been there. None of us should have been there.
Communicate with people is to be real, you know, and to talk about the things that people really care about. Our show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now.
Same shit, different day.
Damn.
This is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard and that they're part of a community.
Everything's gone. It's all gone.
And so I'm really glad to be with you.
Yeah.
That shit's hard to watch, man.
Yeah.
Yup.
No, God!
All right.
I think that's the the gas station from Rob's video too.
I think so. It looks a lot like it.
Well, look,
It's got the
everyone.
graffiti right here. I really think that's it.
Yeah. Look, everyone. Fucking Jim. First of all, fucking good job, dude. Like
Killed it.
Excellent job.
You put on a
Excellent
great
job.
show tonight. I'm not even gonna try to take credit. You really did put in the work and gave us just a fantastic show. You know.
Excellent.
Anyone have anything to say tonight? You know, join the Discord for me. Join the Discord. I think it'd be great for anyone that's watching to kind of come in, share your opinion.
Even if people weren't convinced necessarily tonight, hopefully it was entertaining and people learned something. You know, walked away with some new knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my intention. I compiled a bunch of videos that I found intriguing. Try to put them in a certain order that would be palatable, and hopefully you stayed open minded and bared with the random clips. But I think overall it's been a good stream.
Amazing stream.
Great. Yeah, this is
Time
amazing.
again, and
yeah. Before we get out of here, I want to make it very clear. Jim, he did all of it tonight. This was awesome. Please, if you guys like college football, go to Star Wars Dog. He does a great job. But yeah, just want to put that out there. And hopefully you guys tune into our videos and live streams.
Yeah. Catch us next time. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
يا إلهي سيبني أمري خافني
求求菩萨帮我，求求